the most consistent, most common criticism for the kunai restand was it's broken because when you use it with Azura, it breaks the game. My answer to all of those people was why not just nerf or balance Azura's Rasengan, right? And the
There
other
you
few
go.
jitsus, the other few 5 to 10 to 20 jitsus that it is a problem with, right? And make it so there's
Yeah.
50-50s in risk and reward, right?
Or
Why is
buff
the
the
answer to just
fucking guard.
yeah, exactly. So moving on to that is, we've talked about this a lot and we've both a lot of people talk about how the guard is really weak, but no one has really explored that in detail. A lot of people say,
Okay.
I hate the guard in Naruto Storm connections. So let's talk about what they really mean and what the real issue is
Okay.
there, right?
All right.
So why do you think so many people want the guard back from the past games? And should it come back? That's the thing.
In okay. Guard needs to be stronger,
Yeah.
especially since Storm Connections is so support heavy. And because when I look back at past games, right? Of course, there were strong supports in the past games. There,
Oh
it
yeah.
always has been
Like even in
stronger
Generations there
supports.
was like Mask Man and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, it was always stronger supports in past games. But the thing was, the one thing that helped balance that out was the fact that the guard was strong enough to withstand those, so you would have more of a chance.
Yeah.
And in connections, it's like, okay, after maybe like what, one or two jutsus, your guard is just freaking done. So I mean that it leaves little room for defense. And then don't get me started with blocking a dash. Sure, you block like two dashes, your guard's done.
Yeah.
And what that did was made it very difficult to give you wiggle room to do anything.
Yeah. No, you definitely are locked into the offensive experience of the other player. But the thing is that okay, so when the game lags, like your guard will can break faster and will break faster in certain situations depending on that scenario. One, and two, if you do a charge dash, it does more guard damage. And then another thing is
Yeah.
you can actually outdash your opponent if you do a super dash or spark dash. You know that yellow thing, that the faster
Yeah.
dash. So like there are people
Yeah.
that are training that all of their dashes or most of their dashes are these yellow super dashes or spark dashes. So in that situation, if you're fighting
Okay.
someone doing that and you're not using that tech, they are literally just kind of like abusing that tech and the situation of the unstable netcode and the situation of the low defense guard to just break your guard and get advantage every time. So
Oh yeah. That just compounds things. Like so that's the problem. It's like if you already have to deal with all of these issues and then you have probable lag being stacked on top of that,
yeah,
that's just gonna make it that much more difficult. I mean that's proven. I will say this: when I look back in the Storm 3 days, Storm 3, I can I can definitely say that Storm 3 in terms of connectivity was worse than Connections when it first came out. See, because I felt like Connections did play pretty well before all the patches
it
when
did.
it
I
came to
agree.
connectivity.
I agree. Yeah,
Um, and when I
especially
look, think of, oh,
no, I was
okay,
just gonna especially just before
go
the
ahead.
first patch, there was about a
Hmm.
week or 2 week period where I had no lag. I couldn't believe it, and I actually went on a 17 game win streak amongst really skilled players, and I couldn't believe it, and I felt so bad that I was doing that, but I also like some part of me loved that that could finally happen, but I felt so guilty, right, when that happened
Yeah,
because I was free. So it was such a weird experience, that
because it was
whether people
different.
realize it or not, they're never really free in this game. The game is holding them back, right? Whether they realize it or not. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So with Storm 3, lag was always like, ugh, especially when playing somebody. Uh, Usually, yellow bars could be. Most times, yellow bars were pretty bad. So you could easily encounter lag. But the thing was, because the guard was strong enough to withstand strong supports, and the other player was just that predictable or didn't understand the concept of jump blocking, like being able to respond was not that bad because your block gave you more time, especially
Yeah.
if you're already 2 steps ahead of the other person.
Yeah, I realized that when I uploaded some Storm 4 gameplay like a couple weeks ago or a month ago. I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize how bad the connection was in Storm 4, but it was tolerable because you could tank it with your guard. But now there's no
Yeah.
guard to tank anything. It just breaks. And then
Yep.
the apparent nature, it becomes very evident how bad, how big of a problem the the bad, unstable online experience is and netcode is. It just ruins everything. And I feel like when you're trying to force a game to be competitive in different ways, like making it more offensive, making your guard weaker, doing all these things, um, if that baseline connection isn't there, the whole thing just falls apart.
Implodes.
It implodes on
Yep.
itself, and that's what's happening. The whole
Yep.
community is cannibalizing itself, right? So I
Yeah.
wonder why. Gee, right?
Yeah, because, like, it's funny. If the connection, if, like, the online connectivity was really solid, I feel like 50% of the problems wouldn't be there, and then
Oh,
it
for
would
sure,
truly,
for sure.
right, it would truly come down to the ability of the ability of the other player. Okay, what do they know? How
Yes,
solid are their fundamentals when it comes to playing, storm connections?
yes,
You know, because I felt that many times,
and
especially,
and that's the
yeah.
thing. A lot of people don't need to have solid fundamentals because the thing that trumps that is just having strong supports and strong mains and strong jutsus and OP meta stuff. As long as you have that, you can just muscle your way through. You don't need to have fundamentals.
Hmm, all right. In some cases, yes, yeah. Especially if you're playing somebody that's just over relying on the strong shit and they don't know anything else. Sure, you could just like BS your way through just about anything. Especially back when they didn't patch anything. Like you could use the nasty little dolphin Naruto tech in the oh my god, like Kamui Kakashi and just fuck them up. Cause that because I did that, and it was like I'm like this is what they want. This is what they call competitive here. Just using all this broken shit. I guess this is competitive. This is peak storm content,
Yeah,
guys. That's
peak
all
storm
you gotta
content is
do.
use the meta stuff, the
Yeah,
broken
that's
stuff.
it. To me, it's boring because that's then what happens is every other person is going to use that same stuff, and there's no variety. Like,
Well,
when
that's
is
the
the
thing.
last time you ever seen a Roshi? You know?
Yeah, you don't see too many of them. And I mean, to be honest, there was probably even less variety, or at least the same issue with low variety or almost no variety in Storm 4. Like, people love to
Hmm.
say Storm 4 is better, but I mean, it had a lot of the same problems. 7 years later, you just see like the same 10 to 20 characters in the roster,
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
less, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
in this game, you may actually see a little bit more, to be honest, but
Yeah.
it's still the same kind of song and dance where it's like, hey,
Hmm.
we're still, I mean, this is what the community is used to doing. So they're just going to keep doing that and exploiting the broken stuff and then calling themselves skilled when they're just using option selects, right?
Yeah.